Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Random Troy Radio, episode 469, coming to you on Thursday, December 15th. This is a fun episode that we've got in store for you guys, looking back at bowl games. Yes, bowl games. USC bowl games of the past. We're going to talk about Rose Bowls. We're going to talk about everything here on this episode. As always, you can follow us on social media. Random Troy is on Twitter and Facebook. You can find the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts, we are there. Our email address is randomtroy@fanside.com. I'm your host, Michael Castillo, joined along with my co-host here in the Random Troy studio in Los Angeles, Alicia Dertola.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, we are back on a Thursday again. Our new schedule, Monday and Thursdays here as we go through the bowl prep season, getting ready for the Cotton Bowl on January 2nd, USC and Tulane locking horns at Jerry World in Arlington, Texas. And so I thought it was a good time to start looking at things like bowl games. We're going to sort of relive bowl moments of the past, talk about some of our favorite bowl moments, talk about some of the biggest moments in USC football history, and all of that here on the episode. So I'm looking forward to it because we don't do much. We haven't done nostalgia in a long time. And it's one of the things that I think is so fun to talk about in the off season. And here's an opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really had opportunity to do it because there's been actual football. But yeah, these are fun conversations to have. I think these are fun conversations that resonate with people because these are what the people talk about. You know, when we get together with fellow USC friends, this is the stuff we talk about. So
Yeah,
it's exciting and it's fun and it's entertaining and it's good to relive those moments.
yeah, absolutely. Before we get to talking about the bowl games, we want to give a big shout out to CT Guy, who gave us 5 stars, a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, which we obviously appreciate and love. CT Guy says, excellent podcast full of info and fun. Can't wait for your post-game tunnel commentaries. Strange season with anything possible. Cannot wait until next year. Help me survive the interim with your reports on recruits and lasagna.
You know, that's something that we haven't considered doing is commandeering the tunnel. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the chaos if we tried to do a post game show from the tunnel? It would be entertaining, but in maybe not the same way that the show is entertaining right now.
Well, we're discussing possible ways of being able to do the post game show, like we did this year, and do it on site. How would we do it if we were covering a game, like actually at the game? Because watching the game at home sucks. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people enjoy it. It's not for me. I gotta be there. And I know you think it's in my head.
No. I don't think it's in your head. I just, as the resident blind person, it is me, the one who does
Sure.
value being able to watch on a TV that's right in front of me that I can actually see. So yeah, it's me. I'm the problem.
But
It's me.
you guys sing the song though.
It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
TikTok star in the making. Alicia Dertola over here.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, and yeah, at one point I'm like, well, could we set up in the tunnel? I don't know. That'd be weird. I don't think we could do it, but I don't know. It'd be a possibility. Who knows? Anyways, thanks for the review, CT Guy. As always, you can leave a review over on Apple Podcasts. It helps grow the show. If you're watching us here on YouTube, be sure to like the stream and then hit us with that subscribe button and make sure that you'll be around as we keep going forward. We'll be back on Monday to preview signing day. Yes, signing day is the 21st. And we'll see what the Trojans have under the tree, the recruiting tree, getting ready for that next week. And then as we go along, the Cotton Bowl preview coming up in a few episodes, and so much more. So be sure to subscribe, whether it be here on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your pods. All right, let's get into the news. We got a bit of news before we start talking about bowl games. Let's start with the transfer portal updates. USC has picked up a defensive lineman. It is Keon Bars from Arizona. The Arizona Wildcat defensive lineman is coming over the Trojans. He has 1 year of eligibility, just 1 year, but when SC is going to be presumably without Brandon Peely, who has been at SC for feels like a generation at this point. And I can't imagine he still has eligibility, but we'll see. Without him and potentially without Tui Pelotu at defensive end, SC needs all the bodies they can on that defensive line, and he's a big pickup.
Yeah, a productive defensive lineman from within the conference, and somebody who can come in right away, take on a starting job, and plug away at it. I think it's a huge pickup for USC. I think they need to pick up every defensive lineman that they possibly can, every linebacker that they possibly can that they've scouted and have decided that they are good enough to join USC. And you look at it from Keon Barnes' perspective. I think Sean Nua should have a lot of cachet in the recruiting world, not just from the high school recruiting, but in the transfer portal recruiting because of what he's achieved. At Michigan, he produced some top 5 NFL draft picks, some guys who were All-Americans and continue to do really, really well. And he comes to USC and takes what was a very good, Pac-12 level player in Tuli Tuipulotu and turns him into a unanimous All-American, which, by the way, Tuli Tuipulotu is a unanimous All-American. And I think that Sean Nua can put that feather in his cap and look at someone like Keon Barr and say, hey, why not come to USC and see if you can do what Tuli Tuipulotu did? Because clearly it's possible. So a huge pickup for USC, huge opportunity for Keon Bars, and hopefully it also leads to additional pickups in the transfer portal, because as the time goes on, that's going to be our number one focus, is seeing what USC is able to add in positions of need.
Yeah. Looking at the numbers this past year as a junior, 39 tackles from the defensive line, I feel like is pretty darn good.
That's good production.
It's a hell of a lot of production out of the defensive line, and it shows that he's able to get to the point of contact up there in the run game. We'll see what he can do in terms of pass rush. This past year, 4.5 tackles for loss, no sacks.
But last year he had 5 sacks in 2021, so he does have that ability. Took a step back in that area this year, but that's why you want Sean Nua to unlock that.
Yeah, and 6'3", 295, so he can move around, I think, a little bit, and maybe be a little bit flexible on the line for the Trojans. He was a new nose tackle for the Wildcats, and that was a position where SC really needed somebody, was right there on the ball at the nose. We've talked about it for a while that SC has never replaced Stevie T.
Nope.
Stevie T in that 2016 defense was so huge for the Trojans. It sort of allowed he was like 2 guys in one, and he sort of allowed the defense to be flexible with that sort of 4-2-5, 2-5-4, whatever you want to call it, defensive formation that Clancy Pendergast used on the defensive line. So we'll see if Keon Bars can sort of channel his inner Stevie T for 1 year at USC in 2023. Big get for the Trojans. Other guys that SC is on the mix for, we talked about Josiah Stewart from Coastal Carolina on Monday. He is visiting SC this weekend, which will be a big opportunity for the Trojans to go that way. But they won't be going the way of the Flows. Jonathan and Justin Flo, the brothers from the Inland Empire, who SC wanted badly. 5-star Justin Flo a few years back, linebacker, supposed to be the one. He wasn't. He went to Oregon. Both those guys, the Flo brothers, go into the Arizona Wildcats. So Jed Fish loses Keon Bars, but gets the Flo bros.
Yeah, and I don't think that's been officially announced. I just think all the crystal balls are pointing that way at this point.
So likely headed. Yeah.
Likely headed.
See,
yeah.
I can't read.
I would have liked to have seen Justin Flo get an opportunity at USC to revive his linebacker career. But if he's going to go to Arizona, then that's going to be a really interesting spot for him to work in. It's going to be, I think, a more simple route to a starting job.
Yeah.
With USC, he the competition would have been pretty high, and no, I mean high in the sense that you need to get on the field over Eric Gentry and Tackett Curtis, the superstar linebacker recruit that everyone is super excited about coming in from coming into USC this in the coming class. So it'll be interesting to see what he does at Arizona. I wish him well. It would have been nice if he had been able to turn it around to come to USC, but you move on to the next guys. Find the linebackers. That's all I keep saying. Find them.
Yeah, and if you're Jed Fish, this is the kind of pickup I love,
That's
right? Like it's an awesome move for Arizona because you I think Arizona's in the position to they're not going to go out there and get the 5-star talents on first go, but they are going to be able to maximize finding the guys who people missed on. I think of Oregon State back, 2 decades ago. When Dennis Erickson was there and how he built up that program on the backs of like JUCO guys, right?
yeah.
Like you had Hushman Zada and Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, and like all those guys. There was so many JUCO guys that people missed on. And back in the day, that was the way to do it. And I think now it's with the transfer portal, you get the guys who were 5-star recruits who just didn't latch on for whatever reason, had injuries, maybe didn't win starting jobs, etc. If you're Arizona, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to go that route, and we'll see what happens with the Wildcats as they continue to rebuild the program. More on the USC side of things, of course. Tuli Tuipulotu is named the Polynesian Player of the Year. He's the first outright winner from USC, the second winner overall after Talanoa Hufanga was a co-winner in 2020. So big shout out to Tuipulotu. The national sack leader is the National Polynesian Player of the Year.
Yeah, really good to see. That is an award that USC should want to dominate. Like they should want to have the Polynesian Player of the Year every year. That's the position that USC is in the West. To have inroads in that community, and getting Tuli Tuipulotu as an outright winner is great. It's good for him. As I said before, he's a unanimous All-American. When we think about the Tuipulotu brothers, Marlon was the big one. Marlon was
the big fish.
The big fish, and Tuli was like, you know what? His little brother, he could have something about him, but he's a 3-star sort of project. Let's see what he does. For him to rise from that to being a Polynesian Player of the Year, All-American, unanimous All-American, alongside Caleb Williams as a unanimous All-American, like really a hell of a career for him, a hell of an achievement for him, and excited to see what the next phase of his career looks like.
Yeah, the Polynesian Player of the Year has existed since 2015.
Yeah.
I believe you looked it up as we were prepping for this. SC absolutely should have a finalist every year and just be in the mix for this. I know that they have been in the mix for in the past with guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, and Hufanga, was a co-winner in 2020. But like you said, SC has the most history of having a Polynesian lineage, and it's so wonderful for SC to be able to say that, to have a tight knit community that way that can look back on Junior Seau and Ray Maualuga and Troy Polamalu and so on, and keep building that history and that togetherness of all those guys. So we'll see how that goes forward if SC can continue to add winners there. Let's talk about the most annoying news. Of course, the drama across town over at UCLA with the Board of Regents and the Big Ten move. And you probably ask, why is this on the USC podcast? Because I think it does affect SC. If the Board of Regents voted to allow UCLA, to move to the Big Ten, if they didn't, that would maybe put SC's move in jeopardy, or at least
complicate it.
It would complicate things because it would force the Big Ten to probably SC needed a travel partner, and
Yeah.
so they were probably going to then have to hope that Stanford or Oregon or Washington or definitely not
Somebody.
Cal
Yeah.
would get involved. But the Bruins get the approval, and now will have to pay what I say UCLA Twitter is calling calimony. $2 to $10 million every year to Cal, possibly annually, after the Pac-12 media deal is done, as sort of like a "I'm sorry that we left" kind of thing.
I still have questions about whether or not this can actually be if this calimony tax is something that will continue to be a yearly thing that that UCLA pays. It's kind of funny. I, it's mm, okay. I'm just gonna. It's very dumb. It's very dumb.
Oh well,
Like
it's super dumb.
Cal, deal with
I
your own
mean,
crap. The UCs deal with your own crap. Like
UCLA is an athletic department that is in financial turmoil, which
yeah,
is one of the reasons that they
that
wanted to
they're
go to the Big
leaving.
Ten.
Yeah,
The Under Armour deal was a major bomb, both in Westwood and Berkeley. So like both of those programs hurting for money. So I get why if you're the Regents, why you want to see more money go to Cal, and if you're Cal, you gladly accept that stuff. But like UCLA's not in a position to pay that either.
no.
Like it's
And UCLA shouldn't have to give charity to Cal. Like Cal should
no,
as far as athletic departments go, they should not have to give charity to Cal.
no.
They may be in the same academic sort of structure, but in terms of
Oh, you can't
athletics,
say that. Cal people will let you know that they are the number one public institution. Like it's like as if that matters.
well, but like be the number one public institution then. Like why could Stanford have a period of extreme success in the past couple of decades and Cal not? Like why is Cal acting like they are the sisters of the poor all of a sudden when I was coming up as a USC fan, Cal was one of the biggest rivals to USC in the Pac-12. Cal was the Aaron Rodgers of Cal, like that kind of like the Jeff Tedford days when they were,
remember Ayub?
Yeah, when they were very, very good. So like, why are they suddenly acting like they can't? Like they are basically deciding that UCLA leaving means they'll never have success and be able to generate their own revenue. Like, no, go out and generate your own damn revenue. Also, this year of the Pac-12 tells us anything that like news of the Pac-12's demise is greatly exaggerated. If Oregon and Washington are good every year, then the Pac-12 will be fine. But there's no reason that Cal and Stanford shouldn't aspire to be the cream of the crop in the Pac-12, even with USC and UCLA gone. In fact, it gives them more opportunity to be the cream of the crop in the Pac-12 with USC and UCLA gone. So to me, it's just like, number one, the UCs are screwing over one of their members, UCLA, with this. And number two, giving money to an athletic department that has been completely mismanaged for the last, decade and rewarding it for that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's all drama that I think SC is glad to not be a part of by being a private school, but at the same time tangentially sort of a part of.
I love that the what I was reading, and I don't really understand half of it, so bear with me. But the figure between 2 and 10 million is because the calculation that they made was that if USC will cost the loss of USC will cost the Pac-12 something in the area of like $8 million a year in the media deal or something like that. And so then they were calculating that UCLA would be a third of what USC would cost the Pac-12, and so that's how they came to like a 3.8 number or something like that as like as an example point of what UCLA would have to pay. It is like you can't even just calculate what UCLA's value to the Pac-12 is. You have to go through USC. Like, come on, guys.
It's all convoluted, and a wake up call to the Regents that, of course, UCLA's rival is SC and not Cal. But we digress.
UCLA and Cal, when they get together, when they play football games, do halftime shows aimed at USC instead of each other. Like
Right.
that is the degree of the rival is USC,
Yes. Oh, I know. I mean, they're obviously rivals,
but not those kinds of
but
rival. Like
not the level. Yeah,
true
for
rivals
sure.
wouldn't do a joint let's make fun of USC halftime show together. Like then you're not the biggest rivals, are you?
I'm gonna hold back my comment on the fall of Troy field show.
Yeah.
Um, which is, I don't think it's the dumbest idea. It's just the execution. Just never hits it.
No.
Anyways, let's talk about bowl games. This is the bowl game episode, talking about the great bowl moments in USC history and all of that. I think we got to start there. The way we're going to do this is we came up with a bunch of superlatives. What is the best moment in USC bowl history? What is our favorite play? Our favorite bowl game? Our favorite non-USC bowl game? Our favorite bowl performance? Most heartbreaking? All those things. So we're going to talk about it. Least favorite here on this episode. But I think we got to start with the big picture. SC, of course, America's bowl team, according to the USC Media Guide. More bowls than anybody, more Rose Bowls. SC has won more Rose Bowls than most schools have been to bowl games, period. 25 Rose Bowl wins. Where do you start when you try to come up with the best moments in the best sort of moment in USC bowl history? Because I put together a list. A lot of these things are before our time. So I want to sort of rattle these off, but then like get your perspective of like, how do we sort of put these all into perspective of what is the best? Because you could start back in 1939, the drive against Duke in the 1939 Rose Bowl, when Darrell Nave hit Antelope Al Kruger on 4 straight passes and won the game-winning touchdown with a minute to go, snapping the Duke Blue Devils' unblemished season and ruining their national title hopes in the 1939. Did I do that?
Yes, that's exactly
that
right.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge moment, huge early on. Like you talk about the first, the first half of the century. Big moments in SC history, I think, are winning the 1939 Rose Bowl to beat Duke that way. And then the big win against Notre Dame for the first time when like 250,000 people showed up at Union Station to see the Trojans back, which is insane. Like my mind cannot like boggle that. But that's a great moment. There's the J.K. McKay catch in the 1975 Rose Bowl that won a national title in 1974. There's Charlie White's 247 rushing yards in the 1980 Rose Bowl. There's a certain Rose Bowl called the 2005 Orange Bowl. Have you ever heard of that one? I heard SC was up 35-7 at half and won it 66-19, 55-19. Ever heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For you, what is the best moment in USC Bowl history, independent of our personal opinions?
So
objectively.
So it's hard for me because of the ones that you've described. I've only seen one of them.
Sure.
The other 3 are before my time. But I love things that are before my time. I love those stories. I was just tweeting today. Like I was just thinking, I spent some time a couple of years ago deep in newspapers.com researching the sort of birth of USC football because I sort of had this idea of doing a sort of history series. And those of you who were on the Patreon got a few sort of episodes that were about sort of some historical things about USC football that I kind of want to do again.
Got to bring that back.
I do. It's just a lot of work, but like it's a lot of work because I get deep into that stuff and I just love it. Like, I can't remember if that I'm pretty sure that 1939 Rose Bowl is one that I've written about. Duke being undefeated and I think unscored upon.
Yeah, unblemished. They had not allowed a point all season. Yeah. And then SC scores with a minute to go to snap away their national title.
Yeah, it's just one of those incredible things that like if I could go back and see a thing, that would be one of the things that I would see. But when it comes down to it, bowls bowls are special because they're sort of these sort of postseason special things that bring together teams that wouldn't always play at the same play every year. That's sort of these spectacles, right? But also for a long time, they were the spectacle that determined if you were a national champion, and you had to win your bowl game in order to be a national champion. And to me, understanding that that is no longer the case, although obviously like the playoff games are technically bowl games, but they're different. Um, to me, like the best moments in bowl history have to be something on that scale. It has to be a national title was in grasp. And so like I wouldn't say the Duke one, although that one's sort of legendary because you spoiled somebody else's. But like the J.K. McKay catch, if you win a national title with that immense play, with that memorable legendary play, that's got to be up there. To me, the 2005 Orange Bowl, I don't know that that game has the singular moment that the catch was.
Yeah.
So maybe it falls behind a little bit, but
What's
it's
your
also
favorite moment of the 2005 Orange Bowl?
I don't have a favorite moment. All I
Really?
remember, what I remember are just like the big bowl of oranges and Pete Carroll lifting the trophy. And like, I don't remember distinctly plays from that game. I should go back and watch it to be honest, but like
it's the key. It's the big touchdowns. It's the long touchdown pass to Dwayne Jarrett. It's the one-handed grab by Dominic Byrd that was awesome.
yeah.
For me, I think.
See, and I always forget that happened in that game. Like that part of my problem with that era is like I forget which games they happened in.
Yeah, no, I get it. For me, it's the dagger, at the end of the second quarter, which is the pass to Steve Smith. It's just this ball that looks like it's just thrown in the end zone to nobody, and Steve Smith is just like laying on the ground and catches it in the end zone. And SC goes in the half up like 35-7 or something like that. And yeah, I think that has to be the biggest moment in bowl history because it was a national title, just like the J.K. McKay catch in 75. We can talk about also all the big Sam Bam Cunningham moments against Ohio State in here, and how those, were for, title opportunities and all those things. But I think the Orange Bowl has to be it when you considered this is 2005. This is the game presenting itself with a 1 versus 2 opportunity.
Mhm.
The first one that SC had been in. They had been screwed out the year before and not gone to that national title game. Won a national title on their own accord as the AP champions, sharing it with LSU. And to just win it, not only just winning that game, but to do it so emphatically over Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I don't know how that can't be the greatest, chapter in bowl history for SC, which is saying something because there's a lot of moments to pick from, right?
A ton. There's a ton and a ton and a ton and then a ton more. But I think you're right. It's just on that platform with that spotlight on to have that kind of performance with that on the line. Yeah. It just doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, I remember the lead up being so nervous because Lendale White was kind of dinged up, and what was his health status going to be?
Well, and they Oklahoma was talking crap, and
they were scary. Adrian Peterson as a true freshman looked so good. It was going to be terrifying to go up against
that team
right?
looked incredibly formidable. Certainly didn't feel like the kind of team that USC would roll all over, even if you thought USC was going to win the game. I don't know that anyone predicted that USC was going to roll over them the way that they did.
Right.
So, yeah.
But alas, they did. Yeah, I'm looking up the stats now. Oh, the touchdown pass to Steve Smith was with 2 minutes to go. There was a Ryan Killeen field goal that was right at the end of the half. Made it 38-10 at the half. So close enough. Big win for SC 55-19, and something that SC fans will continue to lord over Oklahoma, along with the great theft of Lincoln Riley in 2021, of course. Let's talk about favorite moments. Alicia, when a lot of big plays, you talk about the J.K. McKay catch. In the chat, there was a mention of the phantom touchdown of Charlie
Of Charlie
White
White,
in
yeah.
1979. For you, what is your favorite bowl game play? What is your favorite USC play in a bowl game?
Okay, so my first thought when this came up was the Adoree Jackson touchdown catch
Mm-hmm.
in the Holiday Bowl. And it was just because that was the moment. He had already scored a 98-yard kickoff return,
Yeah.
but that was the moment when you looked at him and just thought, like, this kid is different. He
Mm-hmm.
just different, just the way he runs. That catch and run, he was gliding,
The whole
literally
time.
gliding. He was like his feet didn't touch the ground. It was just one of those jaw-dropping, "Oh my god, this kid is special" kind of moments.
Yeah.
And that's why I remember it. It's just, there have been bigger plays, there have been more important plays, but like I have it smacked in my brain that was the thing. I also do want to call attention to, I'm trying to figure out which one it was. But
Well, I see what you wrote
what
into
I've written
our
down,
rundown. It's the Garrett
the
Green
Garrett
touchdown
Green
pass
touchdown pass
from Desmond Reed. No, to Desmond Reed,
to
which is
Desmond Reed.
against Illinois.
It was the Illinois one.
Yeah,
Okay.
so 2008 Rose Bowl.
Okay. That one, I just remember
Notre
losing.
Dame legend Garrett Green.
Notre Dame High School. That's why.
Yeah.
Because my family knew, like, I mean, I didn't know him. I was a kid, but like my mom knew him. Garrett Green was from Notre Dame, from our high school. He was the quarterback of the high school football teams that I grew up sort of watching in it while I was in school. Like, and to see him, go to USC and then have the opportunity in that game to throw that pass to a player who, by the way, was like, you couldn't have picked a better player to throw to,
Absolutely.
just in terms
Yeah.
of the feel good nature of getting to have Desmond Reed have that opportunity, of have that
Mhm.
moment for him. Yeah, just like lost it. I just absolutely lost it. It was just like, that's the moment. That's the feel good. It's all wonderful.
Yeah, you mentioned the Adoree Jackson play, and if you're new here, you go back and watch the highlights of the 2014 Holiday Bowl. It's a pass, but really it's a run, because it's
such a little swing pass.
It's like, yeah, it's just a little, it's a little thing. He's in motion, and it just like kind of tossed to him. And one of my favorite moments about that, or aspects of that, is at that time I was working with our friend Trinice Ferreira, and she was putting together this story for her grad school journalism program over at Cal that she was working on. But it was about HBCUs, and one of the people that she reached out to talk to was T. Martin, to get his sort of perspective as someone who grew up in Alabama and ends up, winning a national championship as a black quarterback in the SEC. And so we go to talk to him, and this is right after that Holiday Bowl. And he tells us, like after the interview, he's talking to us about the Adoree Jackson play and how Sark sees sort of the setup and just starts like, there it is. This is going to be a touch. Like,
Yeah.
they knew it was a touchdown as soon as everyone sort of lines up, which is like the Lane Kiffin thing of how the Lane Kiffin memes of when he was Alabama's offensive coordinator, he put his hands up before the snap.
Yeah.
And start celebrating the touchdown, like sort of like one of those moments where T and Sark are just celebrating that touchdown before it happens, and it does when you've got a player like Adoree like that. Favorite bowl game play for me, I've got three. I've got three to mention here. So these are a couple. I would be remiss not to mention the throw, 2017, Sam Darnold to Deontay Burnett's. You and I standing on the sideline at the 5-yard line at the Rose Bowl, watching it happen right in front of us, which is insane.
Yeah.
But going back, and it's the overhead cam for me, and watching Darnold throw into this pocket that is shrinking, and it reminded me of Independence Day and they're leaving the mothership and the thing is closing in and they got to get like, is it going to make it?
Yeah.
It's got to just feather it right through this perfect little hole. And it does. It's like the greatest throw I've ever seen. And it's a crazy comeback and a big win. It doesn't have national title implications or anything, but like a great hell of a moment for SC in that game. Absolutely. The other one for me is Joe McKnight, his scoop and score against Illinois, the same game as the Garrett Green touchdown pass.
It's like he dribbled.
Yeah, so it was a little swing pass that is like that drops and bounces right to him. He picks it up, and I want to see the Joe McKnight touchdown overlaid with the Adoree Jackson touchdown in the Holiday Bowl, because I feel like they took the same route to the end zone.
Yeah,
and those runs were probably very similar. They play out very similar in my mind of like this guy who just like loops around the outside, is going super fast, but never looks like he's going fast because he's just coasting the whole time.
Yeah.
And just floating in the end zone. And that was the moment where I was like, geez, that's the Joe McKnight that you wanted. That's the Joe McKnight that SC went out to replace Reggie Bush.
Yeah, that was the Joe that was exactly it. That's the Reggie Bush moment. That's the jaw on the floor. How did he do that kind of Reggie Bush moment?
Yeah, and what is he going to do next year when he comes back? Like those kind of things. And just like Adoree, like I think Adoree obviously had an amazing career and a bunch of big moments, but it was that moment there where you're like, the possibility is endless, right? And then, of course, there is the plague. Mike Williams throwing a touchdown pass to Matt Leinart. This mentioned in the chat. 520 Trojans mentions it in the chat. The hell of a moment. The punctuation of that game, I think, is that moment. The pass to Leinart and Leinart running in the end zone, putting his hand up. And it's the SI cover. It's everything.
Yeah, it's him with the ball in his hand as he runs in. There's something extra disrespectful about Matt Leinart scoring a touchdown as a receiver.
Yeah, he's got the big brace on. He's like lumbering down the sideline,
and not just like the kind of touchdown that you sometimes see an offensive lineman score, where they're in the end zone and the ball comes to them, but like Matt Leinart running to the end zone and holding out the ball like that is going just something so disrespectful about that. I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
It is I think to me, that is the iconic image of the Pete Carroll era. That is the image that I see in my head when I think of that era of USC football. It's Matt Leinart with that ball up as he's running into the end zone.
Yeah. I want to get to favorite USC bowl performance. Next, sort of jumping in our rundown a little bit, because I want to go to my next one, which is from that same game, which is I want to talk about the defensive performance against Michigan in 2004. In like Will Poole, I feel like I mentioned Will Poole in a previous podcast really recently, and it was because of that game, because of the Rose Bowl. I pulled up his stats from that game. You ready? You ready for this? This is a cornerback.
Yes.
Corner. Will Poole in that game against Michigan, 10 tackles. By the way, a DB having 10 tackles sounds bad.
Yeah.
Not the case in this situation. 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and 5 pass breakups.
That's something special.
Like
that's a once in a couple decades level of like stat line.
Like insane. That's insanity.
It's like Ohio State's JT Tuimoloau earlier this season, where you just look at that stat line.
That was not a Tuimoloau.
I decided to run with it, and
okay.
I figured people would know who I was talking about. The stat line that he had earlier this year, we just look at it and go like, only one dude in the history of time is going to have that stat line, and it's you.
Right. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, you can argue he wasn't even the best defensive player on the field, because BKU has 4 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble.
Yeah.
So like those guys just absolutely terrorized John Navarre and Michigan, and really emphasize the sort of leave no doubt aspect of you put solidified the basis for Leave No Doubt as the
Yeah.
mantra going into 2004, which is the Leave No Doubt that we are the best team in the country, which
Mhm.
was SC's mantra, sort of, going after that, and
Yeah.
it just insane. Other key moments I think to mention. 520 Trojans mentions Keyshawn in the '96 Rose Bowl. Yeah, Keyshawn in any bowl game he played at. I think the Cotton Bowl in 1995, or he had a crazy game too. And in terms of yards per bowl game, he like owns SC's record in that. But what's your favorite USC bowl performance?
For my first thought was the 2007 Rose Bowl. I had to double check with you that it was that year because I get all of these mixes blended in my head.
Yeah.
But it was the Rose Bowl against Michigan, where the first half was just a slugfest. It was nobody was able to get anything going on offense. It just felt like one of those, just every single inch was fought for. And in the second half, USC went out
I believe it
and
was 3-3 at the half.
yeah, it was something like that. It was
3-3.
like 3-3, and USC goes out in the second half and just puts the air raid on him. It was like they came out of halftime like like in my head I imagine that the halftime was like Herman Boone's speech in no, sorry, not Herman Boone. Bill Pullman's character in Remember the Titans, the "We blitz all night" line, but like we just like we throw every
That's
play.
not Bill Pullman.
That's not Bill Pullman?
No.
I'm mixing up actors then. You know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
I'm
That was Cheryl. You just did a Cheryl.
I did.
Yeah.
Either way, though, we blitz all night, except we're just going to throw the ball on every play and see if they can stop us. And Michigan could not. And it was that John David Booty just airing it out. And they had no answer for it. And USC pulls away. And I just remember that was another one of those games that I went into with a lot of anxiety. I remember laying in bed like the week before that game, just like praying to God, like, please just let us be good enough to win this game. Like, let us be good enough to win this game. Let us be good enough to win this game. And then
So I've got the play chart.
Okay, let's see it.
This is the third quarter play chart.
Yes.
Booty passed for 7 yards. Booty passed for 4 yards. Booty passed for 25 yards. Booty passed for 2 yards. Touchdown. Next drive. Incomplete to Jarrett. Complete to Fred Davis for 8. Incomplete to Steve Smith. Complete to Steve Smith for 35. Complete to Dwayne Jarrett for 22. Touchdown. Next drive. Incomplete to Jarrett. Incomplete to Gable. Complete to Davis for 8. Booty rush a run for 2 yards, which means it was a scramble.
Yes.
Incomplete to Dale Thompson. Incomplete to Steve Smith. Complete for Steve Smith for 13. Incomplete to Dwayne Jarrett. Incomplete to Dwayne Jarrett, and then a field goal. So in the third quarter, SC literally did not run the ball a single time.
There was 0 designed runs.
No. Let's look at the fourth quarter. Booty complete to Jarrett for 9, incomplete to Davis. Another rush for 2 yards from Booty. In other words, a scramble.
Yeah, John David Booty is your leading rusher in the second half.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting from this.
Incomplete pass to Dale Thompson. Complete to Dwayne Jarrett, 62 yards, touchdown. The next drive, which is my favorite SC drive of all time. Like, I'm not making this up. Like, you can talk about the great, comeback drives. I think those are all great. But in terms of just great footballing, it's this one. John David Booty, complete to Steve Smith, 26 yards. John David Booty, complete to Dwayne Jarrett, 29 yards. John David Booty, complete to Fred Davis, 23 yards. John David Booty, complete to Steve Smith, 7 yards. John David Booty for the touchdown. John David Booty, 4 of 4, 85 yards.
Talking about like
Touchdown.
splitting the field up in the quarters. It just like moved 25 yards at a time.
Yeah, and still no design runs. Still not a single design run.
But that's what I love. That second half, and that was a Lane Kiffin
Sark. It was
Sark. That was a Sark half.
It was Sark's greatest half of coaching.
It was probably Sark's greatest half of coaching because it recognized something that I wish more coaches would recognize, that like sometimes you just need to play to your strength and balance and what the stat sheet and what the
It's okay to
analytics
cut
tell you, all
bait.
that kind of, but it's okay. Sometimes you can't do it every time,
Yeah.
but sometimes in the right moment, cut bait and just go for it. Like there have been times when I wish we would see the equivalent of that on the run game for USC, where it's just like, okay, don't throw another pass, just run and see what happens.
You talk about the halftime. I really want to know what that halftime was like.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right,
All right, let's do it.
CJ,
sorry, love you, dude, but sorry,
you're not getting the ball second half. All right, Chauncey, sorry, it's not going to happen here. We're just going all in with the arm for Booty, and Booty gets a bum rap, I think, from SC fans. I think unfairly because of the broken finger against Stanford the following season.
Well, he never got over the. If he had won a national title, he has a different legacy at USC.
Yes,
but he fell short, and
he 2 bowl games, and like he was incredible both those bowl games.
Is he in the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame?
Yes,
or yeah,
yes.
He owned a lot of records for a lot.
There's someone that we can't talk about in the podcast who is, I think, definitively like one of the greatest Rose Bowl quarterbacks of all time. But I think John David Booty is right there too. Like legitimately 2-0 with like an insane
ridiculous numbers.
Yeah. His numbers from that era matches sort of like what Darnold and what Darnold was doing a decade later when the game had completely changed. Right. Like, it's just wild sort of there. So that was bowl game performances. Let's talk about some least. What is your least favorite USC bowl game of all time?
You're going to talk about the one that is the obvious answer, so I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
The 2017 Cotton Bowl.
Okay.
Think about how joyful the fourth quarter of the 2017 Rose Bowl was.
Yeah, an epic fourth quarter where Jesse came back valiantly from 17 down. Yeah.
Less than a year later. By just a couple days, but less than a year later. USC is in Arlington, Texas. We are there. I am on the field. I am on the AstroTurf with my camera.
I think field turf technically.
Field turf technically.
Can't say AstroTurf in North Texas.
Getting the beads of that AstroTurf in my shoes.
Yes.
Watching that game. The fourth quarter of that game. You know how I'm Cheryl. You know me. You know how I watch football games like Cheryl, like just pacing and why are you doing that? I'm on the field. I can't do it. So I'm just with my phone in my hand in between plays going like, why aren't they trying to win this game? Why aren't they? Do they realize they need to score points to win this game? Do they realize that they're not trying to run out the clock in this game? What are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? It was 15 minutes of game time of pure agony because it was right there.
The frustrating thing I think about that 2017 Cotton Bowl is Hector in the chat says that we were manhandled.
Yeah,
on the lines. Yes, absolutely. But that game was there for SC to have a chance in that game, and they didn't let themselves do it.
USC had tried to have Daniel Amadabebe to block.
They threw that was the game that they needed Sark to be like, we're cutting bait on the run.
Yeah,
let's throw, because when they threw, they moved the ball up and down the field on Ohio State.
Darnold was fine in that game. He was able to make plays. He could have made plays if they had just given him.
How many crazy catches did Pittman and Bonds have in that game? A bunch. And yet they go down 17 and they decide, okay, we're down 17 in the fourth quarter. All right, yes, it's college football. Crazy things have happened, but yeah, we can't do those crazy things. So let's just run out the clock and not have any sort of sense of urgency.
And Mike in the chat says USC was going to lose that game 10 times out of 10. Yeah. I agree. I don't think USC was destined to win that game, but I wanted them to give it a good old college try, and they just they didn't.
And I think they could have made OSU sweat.
They could have made OSU sweat, And that's all I wanted. I went into that game thinking they weren't going to beat OSU in that Ohio State in that situation anyways.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see them give it a go. And they didn't, and I was irate. Also, I'm bummed that we're not going to the Cotton Bowl this year. On the other hand, I'm relieved that we're not going to the Cotton Bowl, you and I, because like two of the most not fun games have been that I've seen USC play in. We're at AT&T Stadium. And I don't know, maybe Tulane will show USC that the stadium is cursed for USC, but
well, speaking of places that it's cursed, let's get to my least favorite.
Yeah, the obvious one.
I struggled between the obvious one and the other one.
The correct answer.
It's either the 98 or the 2012 Sun Bowl.
Any Sun Bowl.
It's either one.
Yep.
The 2012 Sun Bowl was the most inept I've ever seen USC look ever.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there were cold, frigid winds whipping through the mountains there in El Paso, but like, God, just having nothing in that game. SC didn't want to be there. The whole embarrassment of the whole week, all the negative tweets, the SC showing up late to the banquet thing, just not showing to the game at all. Kiffin in the windbreaker, like,
yeah. Just as a quick aside, going back to what we're talking about, Mike in the chat said the best thing that came out of that game at the Cotton Bowl is my Cotton Bowl t-shirt. I literally yesterday put on the t-shirt that they gave us in the media hub, that my Cotton Bowl t-shirt, and thought to myself, this is the softest t-shirt that I have. It is lived up.
Cottony?
It's just it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It is now a few years old. It's been through the ringer of washing and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like still the nicest cotton shirt that I have. So yes, whatever that was, whatever brand, I don't even know what brand it was, but it's very good.
I will say one of my favorite things was the Cotton Bowl cups.
We still have our Cotton Bowl cups, yeah.
So these were in the press box.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this is like legitimately a good plastic cup. And they were just like how you would get your soda in the press box.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I am going to steal a couple of these. So Cotton Bowl cups.
One of my sleep shirts is a USC Ohio State like extra large.
Well, because
Cotton Bowl matchup,
were like
they were
giving
away.
stuff.
They had extras, as we were walking out.
A lot of stuff up at the Cotton Bowl, but
I've never turned down swag ever.
We talk about the Sun Bowls, and people remember the epic fail of the 2012 Sun Bowl, but I just want to pull up the box score for those of you who don't remember. The Thursday afternoon on December 31st, 1998, I was at my grandma's house watching it, and all I remember is the very distinct horn that every time TCU would score, they'd have this like freight train horn thing just kept going off. The box score here will tell you a lot, Alicia. Here we go. Rushing, TCU 314.
That's fun. That's good for them.
I genuinely don't think you know what I'm about to tell you. Do you know what SC's rushing total was?
I think I've seen it. It's like -12 or something like
that. -23.
Yeah. And not because they chose not to run.
No. -23. Highlighted by Petros, had 3 carries in the game for a total of 5 yards.
See, but this is
Carson Palmer sacked 6 times for -47 yards.
This is also proof that like people talk about how like, oh, people don't care about bowls now. It's like, nah, in the 90s there were teams that no-showed bowls too. Like, you can't tell me that USC in the 1992 Freedom Bowl, as Rama Murdy in the chat points out, or that the Sun Bowl in 98. Like, you can't tell me that USC wasn't like
Yeah,
no
this
showing that. That's a
oof.
no show. The no shows
Yes.
have been around forever.
SC is definitely no showed
Yeah.
their bowls. The Freedom Bowl, absolutely in
Yeah.
'92. Uh, uh, that was it for Larry Smith. 99 or 98 against TCU, absolutely. This was the inverse of the Michigan game
Yeah.
in terms of defensive dominance. I think SC had like 7 or 8 sacks against Michigan, whatever it was. I don't think I have that tab open anymore. Sacks on here. Where is it? Sacks. Yeah, 6 sacks of yeah, yeah, just bad. Anyways, most heartbreaking USC bowl. All right, let's get to
Yeah.
let's talk about non-SC bowls. What's your favorites non-USC bowl game of all time or bowl
Uh,
moment?
bowl
Anything?
bowl moment. It's the Boise State hook and ladder. I mean, it's
Yes.
really the
First of
whole.
all, this is your best opinion ever because it's not the Statue of
It's
Liberty
not the
play.
Statue of Liberty.
The
It's the hook
Statue
and
of Liberty
ladder.
play overrated. Yes, I know it won the game in the Fiesta Bowl. It's the hook and ladder that was so amazing.
The Statue of Liberty was great, but it was the same way that like it was 4th and 9, not the Bush push. Like the 4th and 9 is the play, the Bush push is the capper.
Yes.
The hook and ladder is the play. The Statue of Liberty is the capper in terms of
Yes.
that game.
Absolutely.
And
Great comparison.
just I remember watching that game at home, not having a dog in the fight, to be honest, because at that time I didn't care about Oklahoma.
Mhm.
And being sort of like I like the underdog, so like I'd like to see Boise State do something, and then they did something, and it was just
Yeah.
like, yes, go on, go on. And then I remember having a phone call with my our good family friends who live in Texas, but the patriarch of that family is from Oklahoma, so we're always talking, Oklahoma and USC, and then his wife was a big Texas fan, so that I'm talking with her about USC and Texas and all the time. And I just remember like apologizing to him, going like, "Man, I'm sorry." And he's just like he was lost for words. He didn't know what to. He didn't know what to. He didn't have anything. He was just like, "I don't even know." So yeah.
I remember that game because it was the night that of the 2008 Rose Bowl, of course, which was the wait, hold on.
That was the
the
Illinois game.
2007 season, right? So that was the Illinois.
Yeah, the Illinois Rose Bowl.
Yeah. So the hold on. No, it's the 2007 Fiesta Bowl. So it's 2006 season.
So it's the 2007 Rose Bowl.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
the 2007 Rose. Yeah. Okay. So that's the day we.
That's right, because the Rose Bowl is the early game, and then
Yeah.
the Fiesta is the late game.
Yeah. So me and my dad go to the 2007 Rose Bowl, and there's a thing that happens there that's probably not podcast safe for me to story. That nothing crazy, but I just don't want to share it on the pod. And we get so long day, and we get back. We take the gold line back, and like I was getting text messages about the Fiesta Bowl. And I'm like, there's no way Boise State is doing what? And then we get home and we're like starving, and like my mom has like ordered pizza, and it's like, finally we get pizza. And then the just watching it, it's just beside. And then Ian Johnson
proposes to his girlfriend at the end. It was
end.
just everything about that game was epic. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Mike in the chat says Cheez-It Bowl ! TCU and Cal.
Yes. Why there's so many great bowl games in Arizona? Like,
I live in not regret, because I was at a Clippers game? I think I was at a Clippers game with my brothers or something like that. I was at Staples Center during the Cheez-It Bowl, like getting updates on my phone about the Cheez-It Bowl, and like not being able to experience the amazing anti-football that was the Cheez-It Bowl, except through the box score and the refreshing. Like it was like living in like 2006 or whatever when I was at a wedding when USC was playing Washington that one year, and like refreshing the just sports page to see what was going on. I mean the play-by-play. Like that's what I was doing with the Cheez-It Bowl, but like the stat
The
sheet.
Isaiah Stanback game where he was like leading the comeback but fell short and SC still won.
I don't
Go
even
6-0.
remember. It was SC it was late and they needed a stop. That's what I
Yeah,
remember.
that was the
That would have been
Washington
it.
game,
Yeah,
2006.
yeah. But yeah, I wish I had seen the glory of that Cheez-It Bowl firsthand.
Yeah. Other great bowl games I remember, the Holiday Bowl back in like, I don't know, maybe 2000-ish, when Texas and Washington, and Texas benches Chris Sims and brings in Major Applewhite, and Major Applewhite comes in and like leads this crazy comeback. That was
well,
that was wild.
the TCU comeback against Oregon.
Yeah, the
was
TCU comeback
great.
against Oregon was wild. There was
the Georgia Oklahoma Rose Bowl playoff semifinal was
love that game.
It was crazy because that was so soon after, like, everyone was ready to say that the 2017 Rose Bowl between USC and Penn State was like one of the great Rose Bowls of all time.
Yeah.
And then Georgia and Oklahoma did that. And it was just like, what is even happening anymore? Yeah. Every year it's a new greatest game ever.
Yeah, that was wild. The Clemson Alabama national championship game that went to the end where Watson finds Renfro. That was insane. Of course, I got to go back to my childhood. The great Tommy Frazier run against Florida, where he's like shedding dudes and takes on like all 11 defenders, and he breaks all of their tackles. That was fun because at the moment I was rooting for Florida. This is like 96 because I had a little toy that was a gator, and it was a little golf thing that you would golf and like hit it, and yeah. So, anyways, let's get to the mailbag. Read an email that we got from Tim, who says, "Hello, Renatry. I would be remiss if I did not point out the truly historic nature of Saturday's events. In 1975, Archie Griffin became the first player to win a second Heisman Trophy. 1997, Charles Woodson became the first defensive player to win a Heisman Trophy. And on Saturday, December 10th, 2022, Caleb Williams became the first player who has ever uttered a profanity to win a Heisman Trophy. This is truly groundbreaking. My friends and I were moved to tears. The one friend was praised for his emotion while I was mocked for mine. Go figure. The season has been a blast listening to you two, and you are my biggest hope for making the offseason tolerable. Beat the Green Wave, give Reggie his damn Heisman back, and fight on, Tim in LA."
Thank you, Tim in LA, for that exceptional email. Tim has been, I think, one of our most consistently great emailers of the fall. I'll give him the award him the Rot Award for maybe we should wait for the Rotties, but Tim has been killing it this whole season. So thank you, Tim, for being part of the show. I mean, this is part of what makes the show fun, is having people deliver this kind of thing. But yes, thank you. Yeah, Caleb Williams is the first 20-year-old male to ever utter a word that starts with F and is 4 letters. Or even think it, or even
Filk. 555 Filk. There's a Seinfeld reference you don't get.
I'm sure.
All right. Cameron in the chat. Do you see the USC Athletics Department getting all 8 Heisman winners together for a photo shoot? Be one of the greatest photos in college football and USC football history. Cameron from Hutchins. I hope you're at Hutchins.
I was going to say, you better be at Hutchins while sending us that, but also
tell me about the Mac. Get some moist brisket.
Yeah, have an extra bite of brisket for us.
And save. Well, I know it's difficult, but you got to save some for some.
Gotta have some
banana pudding.
Banana pudding, yeah.
Hell yeah.
But the answer is no.
The answer is no and it's not about Reggie.
It's not about Reggie. No, no. That's why
we all know who it's about.
We all know who it's about.
We all know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, mind you, the photo would be insane.
It would be,
and it would be really talked about if it happened.
It would be extremely talked about.
Not because of Reggie.
Yeah.
Not because of Reggie.
Not because of Reggie.
I see. It'd be great if the other 7 got together.
Yeah.
And the other 7 got together, and then that person responded on Twitter and said, "Hey, Twitter world," and went on to that might go viral. So, All right, that's gonna wrap up this episode looking back at bowl games. So many great moments. We hoped we mentioned some of your favorite moments in USC history and otherwise. So hit us up with the email randomtroy@fanside.com or find us on social media, and be sure to like and subscribe as always here on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back on Monday to talk about the upcoming signing day and sort of preview signing day as the Trojans get ready for that up next week. So until then, we will see you.
See
See
ya.
ya.